Good morning, I'm Trevor Alt.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Friday. Number 1, federal authorities have busted a massive internet crime ring believed to be one of the largest fraud cases in U.S. history.
80 people, most of them from Nigeria, have been charged with stealing nearly $50 million through a variety of online scams, fooling businesses as well as people in every state and several other countries.
More than a dozen people were arrested in Los Angeles. Some of the suspects are accused of orchestrating online dating schemes by posing as members of the military.
We head to Florida for number 2, where 2 students have been arrested for plotting attacks at separate schools.
A 12-year-old girl was arrested for threatening a mass shooting at Burns Middle School in Brandon. Police say the 7th grader made that threat on Snapchat.
And in Davie, Florida, a high school student was arrested for allegedly posting a threat on a social media app. Authorities say that student later claimed he was not serious about the threat.
On to number 3 now. A New York City man has died after an elevator accident in his apartment building.
The elevator suddenly dropped as he tried to exit into the lobby. 30-year-old Samuel Weisbren was crushed to death between the car and the elevator shaft. The building has a history of elevator trouble. Back in May, the owners were fined nearly $1,300 for unsafe elevator conditions.
Number 4 now. 2 men have been charged in a burglary scheme targeting celebrity homes in the Los Angeles area.
The suspects are accused of stealing more than $500,000 from big-name stars, including Usher and Adam Lambert. Prosecutors say the pair used open houses to help pull off their crimes. But a lawyer for one suspect is dismissing the case as a publicity stunt.
Police say they found thousands of possibly stolen items in the home and storage unit belonging to one of the suspects, including diamond necklaces.
And finally, number 5, one fan's love for LeBron James has extended to his hairstyle.
Really? This guy in Serbia had a barber shave LeBron's image into the back of his head. He then made like LeBron and shot some hoops in the barbershop after his do was done. Nice work.
Does not appear to have affected his jump shot form at all.
No.
Friday, Janae.
Morning.
Hi.
Friday morning.
Yes.
It is Friday. Thank goodness it is. That LeBron haircut.
Yeah.
So question of the day, anybody's face you're willing to get, cut into your hair?
Is that the question of the day?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, we've just decided.
Right. I mean,
I'll be floored if the answer is yes to
one?
no.
Okay, well, just tell us this
bonus.
anyway. We'd
just love to hear it just to find out if anybody else would do this. And we said this earlier. Listen, it's not a great idea to get somebody else's face you've probably never met shaved into your head.
Right.
But the barber did a whale of a job here. That is an impressive.
A whale of a job, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. That's the correct terminology.
Good.
Let's get to the big story of the day. We've been talking about this. This was one of our first stories in our top 5. One of the biggest online fraud cases ever. Federal agents breaking up an elaborate crime ring that stretched across the globe.
At least 80 people are charged with preying on businesses and unsuspecting victims, hacking emails, and fooling them into turning over tens of millions of dollars. Some cases involved online dating scams.
So let's bring in ABC's Serena Marshall with the details. Serena, good morning. What kind of scams were they pulling here?
Well, Trevor, Janae, this was highly sophisticated. They netted nearly $46 million from their victims, but they utilized some age-old tactics. They preyed on the lonely, those elderly individuals. They also were seeking individuals who were looking for friendship and love. One woman in the indictment said that she lost $200,000 to an individual she thought was a U.S. service member based overseas. But you guys, it wasn't just individuals these schemers were targeting, but corporations.
It would appear that the Nigerians have figured out a way to hack into certain companies' email system so they could pretend to be a CEO or an executive of the company. And then it's sent to an employee who thinks they're getting it from a big-time boss, directing them to send money to another location, with a justification to do it. And it's all fake. It's actually going to the Nigerians, and they end up dispersing the money amongst themselves and moving on to the next person. Again, a percentage of those are not going to work, but if you do literally hundreds or thousands of them a day, some people are going to bite. But the corporation scam, where they're pretending to be a CEO and getting someone lower down on the company to send money, is actually sort of a new sophistication for them as far as stealing money from people.
And Serena, so how were those suspected scammers caught?
Janae, this started with one bank account, one victim, and then it grew rapidly from there. The FBI says they had victims in all 50 states, and found dozens of victims who were overseas. Now, they had 80 individuals that were indicted. Dozens of those were arrested in LA and here in the United States. Many of them will have to be extradited, and most of them were Nigerian nationals, and they'll be charged with money laundering, fraud, identity theft. But you guys, unfortunately, even with the charges and the investigation that led to those charges, those victims not going to get their money back.
Oh, that's sad. So many of those were really vulnerable, too. Serena Marshall, thank you for joining us from Washington. Appreciate you waking up early for us.
Now,
always a pleasure.
Some growing concerns this morning about the U.S. economy. New figures show a slowdown in manufacturing for the first time in nearly a decade. And we've learned job growth earlier this year was not as good as first reported. ABC's Jonathan Karl asked President Trump about it.
Mr. President, are you concerned about the jobs numbers, the revision, 500,000 fewer jobs over the past year?
No, the job numbers have been really good. We have unemployment at a level that it hasn't been at for many, many years. Fantastic numbers. The economy has been really fantastic.
Officials say the White House is not considering any immediate action to boost the economy, but they say a tax cut for the middle class may be proposed during the 2020 presidential campaign. President Trump leaves for the G7 summit today, where trade will be a top issue. And the president's former press secretaries are in the news.
One day after it was announced, former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer is going to be competing in the upcoming season of Dancing with the Stars. Spicy got a world-class endorsement from his former boss.
President Trump took to Twitter yesterday praising Spicer, saying, quote, "He will do great, a terrific person who loves our country dearly." And Sarah Sanders has a new job, too, hired by Fox News as a contributor. Sanders will provide political commentary and analysis across all Fox News platforms. She left the administration 2 months ago after fiercely defending the president for 2 years. Sanders says she is beyond proud to join Fox. She's set to make her debut early next month.
A developing story overnight in Sacramento, where a light rail train has derailed. More than 24 people have been injured. Most of the injuries are minor. Officials say the passenger train collided with a maintenance train.
New satellite images show the widespread fires burning in the Amazon rainforest. You can see here large areas of once forested land have been cleared, while several fires are smoldering nearby. Brazil's president says his country needs help fighting these fires, but a U.S. senator blames the Brazilian government for allowing ranchers and farmers to set fires to clear the land. Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii says all U.S. aid to Brazil should be suspended until that country stops encouraging the deforestation.
Foreign leaders are sounding the alarm about the raging fires in the Amazon as well, and Brazil's president is taking it personally. French President Emmanuel Macron says it's in an international crisis that needs to be discussed at the G7 summit this weekend. But the Brazilian president says Macron is using the fires for political gain and calls it, quote, a misplaced colonialist mindset.
Back in this country, the mountain wildfire in Northern California doubled in size to 600 acres in less than an hour. Several homes have been destroyed and more than 1,000 others are threatened. 4,000 residents have been evacuated. The fire is about 15 miles from Redding and may have started in a houseboat on Lake Shasta. The public is getting the first look at images of a controversial encounter involving Los Angeles police.
Body cam video shows an officer and a woman in a physical confrontation. This happened in January. That woman's seen cursing, refusing the officer's commands. He eventually takes her to the ground with pepper spray and by grabbing her throat. And the officer's actions are now under review.
Washington state authorities are trying to figure out how 75 pounds worth of cocaine wound up in boxes of bananas. They were shipped to 3 Safeway stores, grocery stores in the Seattle area. Workers found the cocaine bricks at the bottom of the boxes last weekend. The street value is worth more than $1.5 million.
More fallout in the death of accused child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Sources say federal prosecutors have subpoenaed as many as 20 staff members at the New York jail where Epstein took his own life. The jail was understaffed and guards were working overtime when they reportedly failed to check on Epstein every 30 minutes, which is required. Earlier this week, Attorney General William Barr said the investigation has slowed because some witnesses have been uncooperative.
Well, think your commute is a waste of time. A new study is telling us just how much.
Researchers say traffic has U.S. Members of society, people, as we're called, spending an extra 54 hours per year in our cars. In the most congested cities, drivers are losing more than 100 hours each year to traffic. The worst numbers are in Los Angeles at 119 hours, or about 5 days. San Francisco, Washington, D.C. are also over the century mark.
Woof.
Yeah.
And speaking of animals, are you looking for a perfect pet?
How about this cat? We're going to tell you how much this thing weighs coming up after this. It's a lot.
Welcome back now to that nuclear mystery in Russia after an explosion at a weapons site where radiation levels spiked and conflicting reports from the government. Now there are new concerns over radiation. So let's go across the pond to Marcus Moore in the London Bureau for more. Marcus, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Janae, Trevor. Happy Friday to you. And yeah, this new information, this is startling reporting coming from the BBC, where two medics who treated some of the injured from that mysterious nuclear missile explosion, the test, they have broken their silence and say that they fear that they were exposed to radiation. And it's because of the secrecy surrounding the circumstances of this accident when the first three patients showed up at the Arkhangelsk regional hospital there in northern Russia. That the information from the officials did not include full details about the potential for radiation. And in fact, even after it became clear that the patients had been exposed to high levels of radiation, the BBC reports, according to these medics, that they continued to treat the patients, even at one point seeming to improvise their personal protection by the BBC reporting they took a face mask from a helicopter crew's emergency kit to try to protect themselves. And so their fear is that they were exposed, and one of the things that they are angry about, or concerned about, I should say, is the fact that the information was withheld from them about the details of this accident. And Janae and Trevor, it just kind of goes to the worldwide criticism that Russia has faced recently and in the past about when these types of accidents happen, that they're not forthcoming with all of the details.
Yeah, especially with the Chernobyl series, that was a big thing. Marcus, we know Rohingya Muslim refugees living in Bangladesh, they're refusing to go back to Myanmar, saying that they still have fears of violence. What's the latest there?
Yeah, this is something we've watched unfold for quite some time. As you know, I mean, there were more than 700,000 Rohingya refugees that have fled the country in the midst of a violent crisis. And this week, Myanmar had approved the repatriation of some 3,000 Rohingya refugees, but they were supposed to board buses that would take them back from Bangladesh to Myanmar, but nobody boarded the buses. They are afraid for their safety, and they want to guarantee that they will also be made citizens of Myanmar. And so until that happens, these families, again, thousands of them, are refusing to go back to Myanmar. And as you know, the government there has faced criticism from across the globe for what has been called ethnic cleansing in that conflict that really reached a terrible stage in 2017 when villages were burned, and there were reports of alleged rapes by government soldiers there.
And Marcus, we'll lighten it up for
yes.
this one. A 70-year-old American man, right? I know, won the Guinness Book of World Records, what they call the longest horse race in the world. Just how astounding is this feat?
Oh my goodness, you know, everybody starts the weekend in their own special way, and I want to ride into the weekend like Robert Long of Idaho. He is the oldest person ever to win the Mongol Derby. Look at this video. 70 years old, and apparently broke a Guinness World Record for this feat on August 15th. This is a 621-mile race. It covers a lot of ground, and the participants, every 20 or 40 kilometers or so, they hop onto another semi-wild horse and continue the trek. He won. He said, hey, I'm 70 years old, but age is just a number. And he said he felt very good. And look at that video. What an incredible moment for him.
Love to see that video, especially as we're hearing that Old Town Road finally has ended its run at #1. This is exactly what we needed, Marcus.
This is what we need.
Yes.
And you know, I rode a horse once in Mexico. It had a mind of its own. Let me tell you.
Is that right?
It was not a good experience, my friend.
Hey, pull up the video, guys. Pull up the video.
Was it a semi-wild horse?
Yeah.
No,
my
that
goodness.
video needs to be deleted. It exists.
Oh,
wow.
okay.
We will find it.
Get a
Marcus,
research department on that.
Yeah, we have had a blast having you with us the last couple of days. Enjoy your time in London.
Happy Friday. Go get a pint.
Or some tap water, my friend.
I will get
whatever you can
pint or
find.
some tap water.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm just a few hours from the weekend starting here. I know you guys have a little ways to go, but
we're
hope
right
is
there
alive.
with
Keep
you.
hope
Maybe we'll
alive.
dip out
Yes,
early.
have a good one, Marcus.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, now let's get a check of our little notifications.
Starting with a big cat with a big appetite. He's looking for a home in Philadelphia.
This is BJ, also known as Mr. B, 2-year-old domestic short hair, weighs 26 pounds. That's the average weight of a 13-month-old human. Mr. B is described as a jumbo-sized package of fluff and love. Right now he's in an animal shelter. He's had so many potential suitors. The shelter's website has crashed.
Okay.
Somebody take him home.
Yeah, maybe can you afford the cat food?
Yeah, right. And a young man in Southern California learned the hard way that you need to pay attention when you live in rattlesnake country.
Take a look at this. He steps out of his home here in Norco, and he steps right into a snake bite. This is a 19-year-old, says he was texting a friend, he wasn't wearing shoes, and it got him on the foot, and he never saw it coming.
I step down on the front porch and I hear it rattle and it bites me. Sure enough, it was a rattlesnake. It didn't really hurt to get bit, it was just a prick, but I definitely kind of felt like a sense of dread because you could like see the venom like start to inflame my foot and work its way up.
That man's mother and one of his sisters are nurses. They were able to help him out until the paramedics arrived. The sister also killed the snake, and the man received 24 vials of anti-venom.
Crazy. Small dogs just have no fear, so watch as these little dogs face off with some big bears. He broke into a shed looking for food.
Yeah, no, standing the ground.
You can hear the woman there screaming because, I mean, those are some big bears. And look at that one as it stands up. But the dogs aren't afraid.
Yep, nope, doesn't matter. The posturing doing nothing.
Yeah.
All right, next, a vicious attack, a whole pack of dogs chasing down this child to snuggle him to death. This would be the way to go out.
Right.
I would say. So we've got all these puppies.
So
they are going to catch up to him. He puts up a fight, but
and just watch
he's
the
outmatched.
doggy pile. All of the
there we go.
love.
There we go.
Got
Let that
him.
take you into the weekend.
And you guys, it's Friday. We made it. You made it with us. We hope you've had a great week. I want to thank Trevor for filling in.
Really
they wrote in the prompter, and I was like, should I say it? I want to thank Trevor for filling in for Kenneth this week. We had so much fun.
We had a blast.
Ton of fun.
Yeah.
So you're going to get to see some of the best moments that you may have missed. My brain is
It was
fried.
lit.
It was lit. So lit, you may have missed it, but here it is now from World News Now. This is the Alt Vault. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Trevor Ault. I'm a very tall man. I'm 6'4". I played tennis in college.
Oh, so Trevor just told us that he's a big man with strong arms.
Don't talk to me like I'm a child. I'm a professional.
We've got all the tea.
Do we? I think you do. And I'm here.
Trevor's being judgy.
Yep. What's new?
Yeah.
If this is your first time with me.
Yeah, you're right. So I
Judgy's
didn't
kinda my
understand.
default.
Now I know. Talk show host Larry King has filed for divorce from his 7th wife.
You can't blame a guy for trying.
When you track sand inside from the beach.
Yeah. Oh, the worst.
The worst.
All
yeah.
over in the sheets.
You don't shower before getting into bed?
Now, I've never been pregnant, but I'd like to think I would pick up on it. That's my vocal warm-ups for the show before we went on air. I didn't know that I was mic'd up when I did that.
Although we've come to the end of the road. It's a Boyz II Men song.
Yeah, I knew that.
To the end of the road. Did you know what song I was talking about? Okay, good.
I'm not going to sing it.
No, go ahead, sing it. Okay, good.
Is Brian McKnight in Boyz II Men?
All right, Twitter. There it is, your moment of the day.
Yeah.
Have at 'em.
Take that, Scooter. Use an adult name. I'm realizing my whole life is a momcation.
How lucky.
I have a minor in accounting.
A minor in accounting.
If it was
and he
a
still
major,
has to cross out
I could
the
have done
zero.
it. I could have done it mentally. Yeah,
Thank goodness
there's a reason
for that
that
paper.
I switched to
Show your
communications. I'm legally ordained in Indiana only. So if you're in Indiana, yes, I will get you married. Deal.
Is there anything else you need?
You know, you never feel like you're saying that many dumb things in
Right.
a row
Until
when
you
you're
see them all
doing
together.
what's approximately 20 hours of TV.
So good.
That's
Top
10
notch.
hours. That was a blast. I had so much fun, Janae.
Good. We
Thank
had a
you.
good time with you.
You can return to the professionalism of Kenneth Moten
Right.
on Monday. He's always a stand-up individual.
That
Always on his best behavior. Kenneth Moten.
always the shade. Coming up, the new Taylor Swift.
Her new music, we have her new concert, and her new fight for creative rights after this. All right, here's what to watch out for today. President Trump is heading to France this weekend for the G7 summit alongside the leaders of the world's most industrialized nations. The White House said a session on the global economy was added at the last minute at the president's request. He's holding several meetings on the sidelines, including one with new British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, coming face-to-face with Johnson for the first time since he took office.
Democratic Senator Chris Murphy will hold a press conference to discuss the fight for legislation on background checks for gun sales. And Democratic presidential hopefuls take the stage at the DNC summer meeting in San Francisco. Senator Elizabeth Warren is already making waves, criticizing more moderate candidates at a DNC gala for advocating tweaks and nudges instead of big structural change.
Now, some Democrats in Washington believe the only way forward is to make change incrementally. A few tweaks here, some nudges there. No. This is a time of crisis. And when you are in crisis, when your back is up against the wall, the last thing you do is back down from the big fights. So I'm here tonight with a message for Democrats. This is not the time for small ideas.
All right, Elizabeth Warren making waves there, but ultimately, it all comes down to this. It's the Air Guitar World Championship Grand Final, which will have faces melting in Finland as competitors shred their way to glory.
Plus, don't forget to tune into the debrief for an update on all our top stories in the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics. And so that's actually our question for the day.
Yes, we jumped the gun before.
Yeah.
We did. And our question is, what is your go-to air guitar song? You can't help yourself. You got to shred. What are you busting out?
I don't have one, Trevor.
Of course not. You never perform.
Right, I don't.
You hate the spotlight.
Right. No. So what's yours?
The answer is Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses.
Roll that video.
Yeah.
Just
Cue
kidding. We
the
wish.
tape.
So tell us in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live.
We'd love to hear.
Yeah. And meanwhile, nobody was calming down yesterday morning in Central Park, right here in the heart of New York City.
That was because of Taylor Swift promoting her new album. She performed a mix of new songs and some throwback hits right here on GMA, and she had quite a few things to say to our own Robin Roberts. Here's ABC's Maggie Rulli.
This is the new Taylor, a lover, a creative force, a woman in charge. Lover. Her newest video, with a retro feel dropping just hours ago, is burning up the internet. Lover is the first album under her new record label, Universal Music Group. It's a fresh start for the pop princess. For the first time, she'll own her masters. Fans were anything but calm as she took the stage in Central Park, performing live on GMA. The crowd's energy was palpable, as close to 5,000 admirers sang along to every lyric. You'll never find another like me. For over a decade, Swift has been music's it girl, with 10 Grammys, 5 #1 hits, and selling more than 50 million copies of her 6 studio albums. But she told ABC's Robin Roberts that this album is different.
I mean, one thing about this album that's really special to me is that it's the first one that I will own of my work, which is a concept that they're very supportive of.
Right. I was going to wait to ask you about that, but since you went there, this is something that is very important to you, and you've also said that you're planning on re-recording some of your music. Is that true? Are you going to do that?
Yeah, that's true, and it's something that I'm very excited about doing because my contract says that starting November 2020, so next year, I can record albums 1 through 5 all over again.
Last month, the singer made headlines when news broke that her masters had been sold. But it wasn't just the sale that had the 29-year-old upset. It was the buyer, Scooter Braun, the high-profile manager who Swift alleges publicly bullied her, calling it my worst-case scenario. Braun acquired Big Machine Records, which owns so many of Swift's deeply personal recordings, for $300 million. In a passionate and unfiltered Tumblr post, Swift writes, "My musical legacy is about to lie in the hands of someone who tried to dismantle it." Sources close to Braun say no bullying happened. Swift's emotional message after the sale, spotlighting the debate about whether or not artists should own the rights to their music.
In a record deal, it's actually standard for the record label to own the master recordings. It's actually the exception when the artist owns the recordings and then licenses them to the label.
But legends like Prince have argued that the business model is wrong. Back in the 90s, the Kiss singer adamantly fought his label for control of his music, at times even writing "slave" on the side of his face, telling Rolling Stone, if you don't own your masters, your master owns you.
I think every lyric on the song Lover is, I'm really proud of that song. Like, that song is like...
Lover, the single, is said to be your most romantic song yet. Swifties they've been poring over it, trying to get some clues. So can you tell us the meaning behind Lover?
Well, Lover's a song that I'm so proud of. I wrote it alone. And like, just being here on this release week, it's gonna be a really fun week. And I'm just like, it's just so cool to be able to celebrate with everyone.
New Taylor music to start the weekend.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good summer Friday.
You're going to be streaming it nonstop? Yes, she is. I'll answer for her.
There you go.
Great.
That's it from us this week. So much fun with Trevor, right?
A blast. Thanks, everybody, for having me and for your tolerance. Marcus Moore. We talked to Marcus Moore. Kenneth Moten. Thank you for giving me the chair for a week. He's back on Monday.
Bye, guys.